In this video, we will learn what is a histogram and how to draw one. So what is a histogram? A histogram is a chart that shows the distribution of the values of some quantitative variable. How are the values distributed? How many values are in a certain range? How many values are in a certain other range, and so on. So before a histogram is drawn, an intermediate step is necessary in which the original data is binned or grouped using a certain number of bins or using bins of a certain size. Once the binning is done, the binned data is used to draw a histogram. So the bin data has bins and frequencies. So a histogram really is for frequencies of various bins. Binned data may be hidden from view if we use Excel to draw a histogram. In other words, Excel will automatically create a binned data somewhere in memory and use that to create a chart. You will only see the original data and the chart, not the binned data. We can also draw a histogram in Excel using the analysis tool pack add-in. And when we use that, we can do the binning using our own specifications, and we can see the binned data as well as the histogram. So the bins go on the x-axis and the frequencies go on the y-axis. So let's look at an example. Let's say I have this data. So I have GDP for a certain number of countries. So I'm interested in the distribution of the GDP values. So for the purpose of histogram, this variable, the nominal qualitative variable, is not needed. I'm only interested in the distribution of these numbers. In other words, I'm not interested in which country's GDP is higher than which other country. I'm looking at the distribution of this column of data. So this is the quantitative variable of which we need to see the distribution through a histogram. So this data right now is ungrouped. It's not binned yet. Now we can bin the data like this. So we can say, how many countries have a GDP between 0 to 2000? So we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 15. So that's how we got this 15. So the bin size here is 2000, and these are the frequencies. Once you have this, we can draw a histogram like this. So 15, 5, 2, 1, and 1. Notice that these columns in a histogram, there are no gaps between them. Now, we have a gap here because the frequency is 0. But if the frequency is not 0, the columns are sort of touching each other. Now, that's not a rule, but in general, histograms have columns that are touching each other. So the bins go on the x-axis and the frequency on the y-axis. And in a histogram, it's a shape that is meaningful. So we can see that there's a very thin tail going to the right, and most of the values are in the first bin. So it's a very skewed shape. Now, on this slide, this bin table and this histogram were created using the data analysis pack in Excel. And later in this lesson, I will show you how to do that. For the same data, I have drawn this histogram not using analysis tool pack. So here the binning and charting was done using Excel without the data analysis pack. So when you do the binning and charting using Excel, not using the data analysis pack, it does the binning in a certain manner. So the first bin, the lowest value is the lowest value in this column. And then it can decide what the bin size should be, or the user can specify it. In this case, I specified a bin size of 2000. So 553.78 to 2553.78 and so on. I could also specify the number of bins I want in total. Then it will decide on the bin size itself. Now this data is such that some of the frequencies here are 0. So the shape of this histogram is not very continuous. There's breaks. So on the next slide, I have a different data. I mean, I still have data on GDP and countries, but slightly different countries, so that we get a nicer looking histogram. So these are my countries and GDP, and this time I don't have any breaks on the histogram. That doesn't mean having breaks is wrong. I just wanted to show you another histogram without any breaks. So you can see this continuous area. Again, the first bin starts with the lowest value and the bin size can be specified. Here we specified a value of 500. So let's see how to do histograms in Excel now. Here I specified the bin size of 500. We could also specify how many bins we want, in which case the bin size is determined by Excel automatically. Now let's see how to do this in Excel. Okay, so here's my data in Excel. So let's do histogram using two different ways. One is using the data analysis pack. For that, there's an add-in called the data analysis pack. If I click on data ribbon, I see data analysis here. Now, you may not see it on your Excel because when you first install Excel, this add-in is not added in. If it's not there, here's how you can add this add-in. Go to File, go to Options, go to Add-ins, go to Excel Add-ins Go, check Analysis Tool Pack. In my case, it's already checked. That's why I could see it there. Okay. But before we go to Data Analysis Pack, let's first decide our bins and the bin size. So let's suppose I want bins of size 2000. So 2000, so it's like 0 to 2000, 2000 to 4000, and so on. So let's go up to 24,000. So we will need this when we use the data analysis pack. So now let's click on data analysis. One of the options is histogram. So let's click on that. Input range. Our input range is this, D6 to D29. And then the bin range. So our bin range is this. Output range, where do I want the output? So suppose I want the output here. So there. And I want the chart also output. So let's click there. It created a bin table. So this is like 0 to 2000. This is 2 to 4, 4 to 6, and so on. These are the frequencies. And then here's our histogram. Now notice that here, the histogram, the columns, they have space between them. Generally on a histogram, that's not a very good idea. So what you can do is click on these columns, and over here, you can say gap width 0. So no gap. And we don't need this since there's only one thing. So that's how you get the histogram using the data analysis pack. How to get a histogram without using the data analysis pack? Let's select the data, insert, and there's a histogram option. Histogram. Now, by default, it created 4 bins of a certain size. If you're not happy with 4 bins of these sizes, we can play with this a little bit. If you click on these bin numbers, we can see some options here. So the default was automatic, so we got this. So automatically it created a bin width of 6100. Let's suppose we want to override that. We want to make it 2000. Now we get a histogram very similar to the one above this. It's not exactly, because here is 553.78 to 2553.78. Here it is 0 to 2000, but it's almost like that. We can add data labels so we can see the frequencies. Then for this data, we can insert a histogram. So the default gives you 4 bins of a certain size. If you're not happy with this, we can click on these options and say, I want a bin width of, say, 500. So we get this. Or we can say, I want a histogram with 10 bins. So we get this. Or with 8 bins. So we get this. Or with 7 bins. So we get this. Or 6 bins. We get this. So you can play with either the bin width or the bin size or the number of bins. Okay, so that's the end of this tutorial.